Depression Baby. Stories about growing up in Appalachia and other things too. With my dad, Ray B. Rogers.
On August 16th, 1929, I came into this world kicking and screaming. I reckon that made me a Depression Baby.
Depression Baby is a World Songs media production. Brought to you by Depression Baby the Book, available in Kindle, paperback, and hardcover, and soon audiobook at raybrogers.com.
Our cherished archaic dialect. For some time I've been affixing, getting ready to or preparing, to write about the language of our ancestors. However, I could not bring myself to write about these speech patterns without applying the dignity that they deserve. Many who have written about our southern mountain dialect have merely defined words which were quaint to them. Also, they often made fun of these mountain people who spoke differently from themselves. There have been many little books sold, mostly in gift shops or boutiques, that were written out of ignorance that this pioneer language represented colloquial survival of Elizabethan English. Perhaps most of us have read about how the isolation of the mountain people preserved remnants of the language spoken in England at the time of Shakespeare and Chaucer. According to ex-Senator and ex-Governor Zell Miller, some of the words spoken by our ancestors were right out of the Canterbury Tales and A Midsummer Night's Dream. A few years ago, I was attending a company seminar at a resort near Young Harris, Georgia. I knew that Zell lived in a house that his mother had built of stones from a nearby mountain creek, and that this beautiful and distinctive house was on Main Street in Young Harris. Some of my friends had gone to play golf, and since I do not play Cowpasture or pool, I went down to Young Harris to again look at the house that Zell's mother built. I wanted to personally thank Zell for something he had written in his book, Core Values. He has written several books. On an impulse, I decided to visit Zell, knowing that was not a polite thing to do, but I did it anyway. Hesitantly, I climbed the steps and knocked on his door. I was greeted most graciously in a true Southern manner. He invited me to sit in his living room, and we watched his wife Shirley decorate their Christmas tree as we talked. He told me that he was writing another book, and the papers surrounding him were ample evidence. He also told me of his first book, The Mountains Within Me, which has been out of print for quite a spell. I didn't want to overstay my uninvited visit, so I soon excused myself, but Zell followed me out on the front porch for further conversation, pointing out where his mother had retrieved creek rocks to build their home. In The Mountains Within Me, he takes a more scholarly approach to our colorful language, which I would be unable to do. Therefore, I wish to give author, senator, governor, educator Zell Miller full credit for the following. Mountain speech is primarily a spoken rather than a written language and needs to be heard to be fully appreciated. Here are examples of Old English tenses: begun instead of began, drunk instead of drank, and swam, hope helped, frizz froze, and fit fought. Old-timey mountaineers used double nouns like ham meat, women folk, widow woman, preacher man, hose pipe, and my grandfather John Burnett Medford called mother's chicken dressing chicken bread. Part of our language heritage involves double and multiple negatives. Try this on your English teacher. I ain't never seed nothing like that nohow, nowhere, no time, no way. Syndicated columnist Rhonda Rich has a mountain heritage. She says in one of her articles, "I spent years thinking that my people talked in an uneducated mountain slang. Then I discovered something riveting. These people were speaking the finest language known in the world. It is the finest, purest English ever known." We should never be ashamed of the way our mother spoke. It was rich in colloquialisms that I wish I had written down, or at least committed to memory in a more diligent manner. Our language was also influenced by the King James Bible. Methodist bishops from Lake Junaluska frequently came to preach to us at the First Methodist Church of Waynesville. They spoke with a lot of thees and thous. They so influenced me that for years I thought that I could only talk to God or pray in Old English. We must always remember, when we hear people talk down to us using TV English, that our ancestors could learn them a thing or two, and nary one of them is smarter than we are.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this episode of Depression Baby. And if you did, my dad has one important request. If this podcast brought a little smile to your day, would you please consider right now subscribing for free to the podcast and kindly leaving a nice 5-star rating and review on iTunes. You can make the difference in getting Depression Baby in front of a wider audience and help preserve this disappearing legacy. If you need any help with how to subscribe to the podcast, just go to raybrogers.com and look for the podcast tab on the main menu. Thanks to our audio and musical contributors, including our friend Lobo Loco. You can find out more about him and all the rest of the music and audio in the show notes at, you guessed it, raybrogers.com. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time on Depression Baby.